In the first lesson, we created our first app, which was a real Ruby on Rails application, but it didn't really do very much. It was really just one static page. But in this lesson, we're going to build on that foundation and make a demonstration application, or demo app, that is a dynamic database-backed web application. In fact, we're going to do so much that you may be amazed at all of the things we do. And the reason we can do so much is because we're going to cheat. We're going to use a technique called scaffolding, which is generated code. It does amazing things, but it's virtually impossible to understand, especially at this early stage. Scaffolding is the same sort of magical technique that's behind the famous 15-minute blog application screencast that you can find at the main Ruby on Rails website. This is essentially my version of the 15-minute blog, and you might notice it's a little bit more than 15 minutes. That's because I'll go into considerably more detail. If you watch only one screencast in this Rails tutorial screencast series, don't let it be this one, because this demo app is not a real app. Moreover, this is not how you actually develop Rails applications. This will be great for giving you a high-level overview of what Rails applications can do, but it will not be a good way to learn how to write a web application of your own. That will start in the next lesson, based on Chapter 3 from the book, where we'll start our sample app. All right, so to create the demonstration application, let's first change into the Rails projects directory. And then, as before, we're going to create a new Rails application by typing Rails new, and then the name of the application, in this case, demo app, or demo_app. Notice this is exactly the same directory structure that we created as part of the first app. All Rails applications start off the same way. And now, remember what we do, we have to edit the gem file. It's the first step, so edit the gem file. And you might not have to do anything here, but I have to put in a version of SQLite 3 Ruby that works with my system. Bundle install to install all the gems for our application. And now that all the gems are installed, let's put this under version control with Git. Let's do mate.gitignore, and I'm going to use the augmented gitignore file from the Ruby on Rails tutorial website. There we go. Don't try to copy it here. Go to the website and grab it from there. And this is why you want to get the version at the website. It turns out that you actually do want to version the gemfile.lock file. This is based on a recent blog post by Heroku. So this is the one I'm using right now, but as usual, you should use the one on the railstutorial.org website. Now I'm going to do git init, git add dot to add everything in the current directory, git status. Let's just double check what we've done here. That's good. We've got all these new files. And now git commit -m with the message initial commit. And now I want, even at this early stage, to create a remote repository. So let's go to GitHub and create a new repository. These are exactly the same steps as we did for the first app. And it's just good to get practice with this sort of process. And this is the Ruby on Rails tutorial demonstration application. And so we've already done the global setup as part of the first app. So we need to skip down to the next steps, and we've already done our first commit, so we need to git remote add origin. And this is exactly the same as we had before, except it was before it was first app.git, now it's demo app.git. And then we do git push origin master. And this is the same thing that happened before for me, and it's because I need to add mhartle as a collaborator, but that step will probably just work for you. There we go. Good, and now we can see this is the same thing we had before, and again we see the same README, this stupid default Rails README that doesn't do anything. So let's remedy that right away. It'll be our first commit on our new application, our demo app. I need to go in and add the URLs. Commit the change. Commit all the changes with the message, improve the README. Oh, actually, there's one more thing we want to do first, and we want to move the README to README.markdown. So this is a nice trick. I'm just going to go up here and say git move README, README.markdown, and commit it at the same time. So this will do the move, and then it will do the commit. I'm going to do git push, and remember I can leave off the origin master the second time. Let's go take a look. Scroll down here. And there we go. So that's a better README file. And now we're ready to actually start making the demonstration application. Now, at this stage in developing a web application, it's a good idea to think about what kind of data model do we want. What does this application have to do with? Well, typically a blog deals with users and posts, but remember our sample application is going to be essentially a mini Twitter clone. And so in this case, we're going to have, rather than posts, some sort of shortened posts. We're going to call them micro posts. And so that means we're going to have users and micro posts. Let's take a look at what this what these models might look like. So here's a diagram of what a user's table in a database might look like in terms of the data model. So this is the structure needed to model a user with an ID, which is an integer, to uniquely identify that user. And then we're going to add in a name field and an email field, each of which will be a string. This is sort of a minimalist data model, but you can actually get pretty far with this model because you can use the email address as the username. The other part of the model is going to be the microposts. Take a look at that. So microposts are like users in that they have an ID to identify them uniquely. In this case, these IDs are known as the primary key in the database. Microposts will also have some sort of content field, which is going to be a string. Now, I should mention that if this were a blog post, you wouldn't want to use a string data type. You would want to use a text data type. But because microposts are short, we can actually fit them inside a string. If it's more than 255 characters, though, you'll have to use a text field. And then in the micropost model, we've got the notion of a user ID. Because if you're going to make a micropost, say at Twitter, you would need to associate the post with a particular user. And so somewhere in the data model, we need to have a way of storing which user this micropost corresponds to. In this case, we use the singular version of the user's table over here with _ID. Now, this is a convention in Rails, and you don't have to follow it, but good things happen when you do. Like, things will just automatically work. This situation where you have the primary key from one data model in the other data model is known as a foreign key. So here user ID is the foreign key. And this will allow us to stitch together these two models using some magical Rails code.